Well, hello again, friends. My name is Reverend Thomas Harper. I'm one of the associate pastors at St. Luke's, and this is In It Together, our daily video devotional series, where in the midst of all of the social distancing and all of the separation, we are continuing to bring you content every day so that we can try to stay connected to one another, even though we cannot be connected physically. So we are continuing to practice our distance loving. Today, I wanted to share with you just an unexpected joy that I've had as a pastor at St. Luke's. So as a pastor, I've had the opportunity to officiate weddings, and I was surprised by how much I enjoy doing that. So I've done a number of weddings where I get to officiate and marry the couple. And I think there's just something about weddings that gives people hope. Hope for the couple and the years and the adventure that they'll have together, but it also helps us have hope for ourselves as well. When we see romance and we see love played out, and when people make a covenant to stay together before God and their friends, I think it just makes us feel good and makes us feel hopeful for our own marriages, makes us remember the covenants that we have made ourselves. But probably my favorite thing about officiating weddings is doing premarital counseling with the couples. So I require that each couple that I marry has to take at least 2 hours of premarital counseling with me in my office. And premarital counseling is just a great opportunity for you to get together with your loved one and work on any kinks or things that haven't really been spoken between you, things that you may be struggling with, or just, again, just hasn't been voiced. You have a unique opportunity to unpack yourself and learn and be vulnerable with your spouse in premarital counseling with that pastor third party there. That it's just really hard to do on a Tuesday night when it's just the two of you. And so I have found that premarital counseling is just a unique and important part of being vulnerable with each other. During that time, I would just feel the intimacy in the room as I watch these couples show their love for each other, but also kind of struggle through things and be honest with each other and kind of reveal tender parts of themselves in this safe space. And me being a part of that, I think the reason why I like it so much is because, kind of like the wedding, but on an even deeper spiritual level, it rubs off on me. When I get done with a premarital counseling session, I want to go and talk to my wife, and I want to be closer to my wife. And it was through that continued experience of premarital counseling being one of my favorite things to do, and that would just as kind of a secondary thing make me want to be closer to Jenny, my wife. Made me realize that, premarital counseling should not just be premarital. That should be something that we are doing all the time, that we are continuing to work on our marriages. At my own wedding, I got a piece of advice from my previous church's chef that has always stayed with me about marriage. It was during our wedding reception, and it was at the church, and he pulled me aside, and he was this, big guy. He was big, but he was also this big presence of a man, and real tall, and I'm pretty tall, and I don't look up to a lot of people, but he got in my face, and, he's a little bit scary, and he said, "Thomas, I want you to listen to me." He said, "Right now, you have no idea how much your bride is going to bless you." He said, "If you continue to cultivate your relationship, if you love her like Christ does, then your marriage and your life will greatly be blessed." And he was absolutely right. I had no idea. But I think it's sometimes hard for us to remember that when it comes to our earthly relationships, our spouse is number one above any other ones. And that's difficult because oftentimes we ignore that most important earthly relationship for other things because we've already gotten married, so now we're just doing life. We're just living together. We instead take the focus on each other and shift it over to our children and our children's lives, or to our job, or to our achievements, or even our hobbies. I think children are probably the number one thing. It's that we find ourselves pouring so much of our hearts and who we are into our children, but then at the end of the day, the children leave, and we are left back with our number one human relationship. And so I think it's important for us, friends, to remember to never stop working on that relationship, never stop cultivating intimacy and vulnerability with our spouses. And that's now more than ever. I mean, it's such a crazy time that a lot of us are now around our spouses all the time, and you can be around someone but be miles apart. You can be around someone so much that you are constantly being annoyed and you want to be separated from them. And so taking time, intentional time to cultivate intimacy, to work on our marriages and our relationships, I think is really, really important for us to remember. My wife and I have just begun a marriage couples class, a 6-week course called A Good Godly Marriage, connecting to one another in times like these, that actually we just finished our first class earlier today. And so I would encourage you, if you would like to join that class, you can certainly do so. You don't have to have been to the first week or even make all the weeks. We meet via Zoom Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock and go for about an hour 15 minutes. That is a time that my wife and I have set aside to say, this is about us. You know, the kids are a whole big thing. Our job is a whole big thing. But this is about us. If you'd like to register, you can go online, or you can shoot me an email and we'll make sure we get you signed up. But regardless of that, I want you to do something. I'm going to give you 5 questions, and I want you to get a note card or a piece of paper, and you can go back and watch it again, so don't feel like you have to get it all at once. But I want you to write down these questions, and I want your spouse to write down these questions. And then separately, I want you to answer the questions. And try to be vulnerable, try to be honest. And then at a time that you both decide, give each other the answers, whether that's you talk about it in person and you use that as a quality time moment, or you just put it in an envelope and you hand it to them so that they can open it, as a way of being vulnerable, as a way of sharing your heart with your spouse, as a way of cultivating intimacy in your relationship during this, just, let's be honest, crazy time. So here are the questions. Number 1, what is one thing that I really appreciate about you as my spouse? Number 2, what compliment do I most like to hear from you? What makes the biggest impact? Number 3, what is one area of our marriage that I would like to improve over this next year? Number 4, I feel most valued by you when, finish the sentence. And number 5, one thing right now that I'm really afraid of, and then finish the sentence. So friends, I invite you to do this as a couple, to take time to write out these questions, write your answers separately, and then come together either talking about it or just handing it to them in an envelope, and share the answers to these questions as a way of cultivating intimacy. I want to leave you with this. Matthew 19:4-6 says, haven't you read that in the beginning the Creator made them male and female, and said, for this reason the man shall leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are now no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one be able to separate. Thank you, friends. Continue to love each other well. Take care of yourself, and we will see you again soon.